Yo, 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 yo. What's good, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the MOP podcast. I'm your host, Mario. And here with me today, I got the great Adam Auslund from Clips and Dips and also Clippers Talk on YouTube. And also you can find it on different podcast platforms. So first of all, Adam, thanks for being here, man. And second of all, how you doing, man?
I'm good, Mario. Thanks for having me. I haven't gone international on a podcast before, so I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
You're always welcome abroad, man. So I got a great special podcast for y'all. I think the last time I did it was like 2 weeks ago. You know, I'm getting better. I do mostly my content in Spanish, but you know I know a little bit of English. So let's get into it, man. I got here with me today the great Adam Auslund. He's a prominent sports radio host and broadcaster based in Los Angeles. Obviously, he's an Clippers expert, and he serves as the pregame, halftime, and postgame host for the Clippers radio. And he also, as I said before, he hosts the Clippers Talk Daily. He's on a streak of over 200 days, right? Going live.
It ended last week, but I made it from October 4th to somewhere around May 4th, maybe. I made 213 straight days of episodes, so I made it that far. But after the Lawrence Frank exit interview, that was my last episode of the streak. But we're still doing the show.
Oh, okay. Oh, let's go right into it. And also people in the audience, don't forget to go and subscribe to Adam's YouTube channel and go and check Clips and Dips. It's one of my favorite podcasts on the internet, on YouTube, obviously. I'm a Denver Nuggets fan. We went to battle in the first round to 7 games, but I gotta give you your flowers, man. You and Will and Chuck, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, the three of Clips and Dips, a Clippers podcast. So there you can find in-depth coverage and analysis of all Clippers things related. Let's get into the streak. Let me ask you this, because obviously I think I go live like 6 out of 7 times, 6 out of 7 days during the week. How do you deal with your vocal cords, or what was the question that I wrote here? How do you work on not losing your voice? Maybe that's a stupid question, but you know.
No, it's a good question. You gotta drink some tea and honey sometimes. I have had issues before. When I get sick, sometimes it really affects my voice and my vocal cords. And so that's always a concern. I didn't get sick this past year. That's probably the first time in my lifetime that I haven't been sick in a while. So that helped the streak. Lots of vitamin C, though. You got to be preventative, that's the key here. But this was something where I think my voice was strengthened by doing it every day. Every day, it just made my voice stronger.
Old school mentality, stronger. Like going to grind or in practice every day, right? Full pads on.
Understand the grind, as Norman Powell would say. But yeah, I was able to get through it. It's probably the craziest thing I've done work-wise, a streak of 213 days. It was a little bit exhausting, but you're doing 6 days out of every week, so that's pretty impressive yourself, Mario.
Yeah, and obviously the show you do is not like 30 minutes or 25 minutes. You go live for like almost like like 4 or 5 hours maybe.
Sometimes
during the day.
It depends on how the night goes. If I'm getting calls from all over the world, then yeah, I got to keep going. And that's happened this year. Some people have been called from the Cayman Islands. Some people called from Australia. So I'll keep going as long as people are interested. That's how the show has been. Clippers Talk After Dark. That's how it usually goes.
Oh, that's a great point. I forgot to tell you that I had Clipper Dime Dropper. I had Dime Dropper before, like almost 2 years ago. I forgot to tell you that, but
I was just listening to him at the gym earlier today with Locked On Clippers. I love my guy Darian Baziri, Dime Dropper. He's great.
He's great, and he's very passionate about it. That's something that I share too. But let me ask you this: Adam, what was your? How do you deal with the trolls? You go live on YouTube a lot. There's a lot of comments like I showed before, like Matt saying, "Oh, Clippers in 20." But we all when we are content creators, how do you deal with trolls? How do you deal with the timeout management?
So I used to have a quick trigger and I used to put them in timeout pretty quickly because it was my first year doing the YouTube thing. So I wasn't used to so many people flaming and trolling and trying to bait me or rage bait me or whatever it's called. So I have blocked a few people. And then later on, I came back around and was like, I'll unblock them and see if they've changed their behavior now, if they're going to be better about it. I've mostly gotten to a point after the Clippers lost in 7 to the Denver Nuggets. There were so many trolls in there, I couldn't keep up. So I just let them have their day, basically. And I
Oh,
think I've
okay.
been nicer and a little bit kinder to the trolls. And some of them are actually pretty funny. It's something, I used to troll when I was younger. So I,
Yeah.
I understand the appeal to it. But at first, I had a hard line stance of if anybody said anything ridiculous or asinine, or if they weren't contributing real NBA high level talk, I would time out them. Now I'm kind of like, anything goes for the most part. It's not as long as you're not making any threats or saying anything too crazy, I'll let it go.
Yeah, or slurs maybe. But
Yeah.
let me. That's a great opinion too. Let me ask you this: what do you think? Because for what makes it what is different for between a fan of a team and an analysis and analysis analyst.
Well, an analyst is supposed to be objective, impartial. They're supposed to remove themselves from being biased in it in any way. Now,
From the equation.
sometimes yeah, sometimes you pick stuff up because Kendrick Perkins, if you listen to him on ESPN, he has relationships with guys. He played with
Yeah.
certain players. So there's still an inherent bias going on with him at times, and you have to know that going in. But if you're trying to be really objective, my favorite guy is Tim Legler. I think he
Oh
does
yeah,
the
he's great.
best job. And now he's doing more color analyst stuff on games in the playoffs right now. He's my favorite probably to listen to when it comes to actually just being
Breaking
completely
down the
impartial.
game, no
X's
narratives.
and O's, no fake narratives. Yeah, he's not about the hot takes. He's actually about talking ball. That's what I love.
Maybe that's something that's coming back, right? Like for a period of time, it was the Skip Bayless of the world. It was the Stephen A. Well, I mean, still it's the Stephen A. Smith of the world. But do you think maybe that's coming back a little bit? Like certain, for example, I really like Caitlin Cooper. I don't know if you know her. She has a podcast for the Indiana Pacers, and I
Okay.
like her different podcasts that are only focused on one team. And that's another question that I got for you. It's like what are the main benefits of just covering one team and doing it at a very high level instead of trying to cover the whole league as a whole?
First of all, I'll say this. I've been predicting for a while the demise of the hot takes, and I do think
The
there's a hot
culture.
take. There's a hot take bubble coming where people are so sick of the same thing over and over again, where it's just how much stupidity can you put out there and actually still get people to buy in that you're being sincere with your takes? Eventually, people are going to tune out. I think that's what happened to Skip Bayless to some degree. People just,
Yeah,
but he's disingenuous. Stephen A.
maybe
Smith,
delusional sometimes.
oh, definitely delusional. Still on X, if you follow him during games, he's always trying to throw a jinx in there. But when it comes to hot take analysis, that just has never appealed to me because there are a dime a dozen. There's so many of these people. It's oversaturated the market. I think it is the demise of sports talk to some degree. But to what you were just saying, I think people now are looking for something more refreshing, like a Tim Legler, like somebody that is just giving honest analysis out there and isn't trying to get clicks. That's what people I think are gravitating towards more right now. But I like covering the Clippers because I'm a fan of them. So you can say I'm definitely subjective. because when I came to Los Angeles, I came from Sacramento. I was a Kings fan
Oh,
initially. So I had no love for the Lakers. So I knew I couldn't root for them. So I always had my eye on the Clippers down here. But the thing is, covering this team, being immersed in Clippers culture and Clipper Nation, it's made me more of a fan because they're the grinders. They're the people that are still trying to get to that first championship. And that really appeals to me. I think that's going to be really special when they get there. And the fact that they have Steve Ballmer now, the richest
oh
owner
yeah,
in
the
North
richest owner,
American
right?
sports, like he's the fifth richest person, I think, in the world at this point.
Damn.
Like ownership matters, and they have a great one. So it's not just about him being rich, it is about him being passionate and him wanting to win. That's what it comes down to. So the Clippers have so many good things going for them. Why would I not want to be covering this team and be a part of this? But it's also about when you're covering one team and you're going through an 82 game season, you also have to know about everybody else too.
Yeah.
So I feel like I have a pretty good grasp of the national landscape of the NBA at the same time while really knowing the details and the nuts and bolts of this Clippers franchise.
Man, that's great. And the same for me. I started to be I became a Nuggets fan like post bubble. I was watching that team like they came back from down 3-1 twice against the
Oh, I
Clippers. Damn,
know.
my bad, bro. My bad. No pun intended, man. Damn, bro. Damn. They came back and I was like, what is this team? This Jokic player, this Jamal Murray player. Then I became a fan. And as you said, Denver have never gone to the finals. They never
Yeah.
had an MVP before. And with Jokic, and obviously I'm a fan of the team, but that doesn't mean that I'm gonna pick them every time they have a playoff series. I said that before the series started against the Clippers, I said Nuggets in 7. This series, I said Thunder in 7. So maybe I'm in the right path, but it's something different, right? Than obviously winning with a small market, even though Los Angeles is one of the biggest markets in the U.S., but with a small team that didn't have a lot of history before. In the same, it's very similar with me with the Denver Nuggets when they won their first title and they got to the finals in 23.
Yeah, I think that makes it special. You kind of get to grow and evolve with this franchise that is just on the come up right now. That's happening with the Clippers because, in my opinion, if you look at it this way, Steve Ballmer took over in 2014. Before 2014, they never had a chance with their former owner. Now they do. So, in some ways, it's like the Clippers are this expansion franchise. They're a new franchise, and that's really appealing to me. That's what I love about this. And I'm telling you, it's going to mean more when they win their first championship. It's going to mean a lot more than if Boston wins their 20th or 19th or the Lakers wins their 19th championship. It's just different.
It hits different. That's a great point. That's a great point. Let me ask you this, Adam. What was your first experience at Intuit Dome? The wall. How was seeing the wall for the first time? The toilets that it had like 30,000 toilets. What was your experience as a whole?
So we got a private tour initially last summer, and
Oh,
that
okay.
was interesting because it was just us in there. And I knew right away because they took us to the very top to show us, okay, the nosebleed seats. What's the worst angle at Intuit Dome, and how does that compare to the worst angle at Staples Center, Crypto.com, where they used to play? Well, I noticed right away it felt like you were 40 feet closer, even at the very top, than judging it by the very top at their former arena. So the way they've angled it, there's not a bad seat in the house. I know that's cliche and a lot of people say that, but really, truly, there's not a bad seat there. And then you look at the variety of seats and you have something unique like the wall, which no other arena has, which you can tell right away. In the first game they played there in the regular season, they were taking on the Phoenix Suns. What you could tell is while you're sitting there, you can sense where the wall is even if you just close your eyes because there's a very distinct sound that the wall makes. It just stands out
That
from
comes
every
out of it,
other
right?
sound. Yeah, it's kind of like if you got a stereo system and you got a right speaker, a left speaker, a center channel, the surround sound and all that, you can tell where different sounds are coming from. The wall has its own sound. that stands out from anything else in the arena. So everything there is just so technologically advanced with the Halo 360 board and just having the biggest jumbotron in existence. It's almost an acre long. It's all 4K. It's just every time, even from the last game that I was there this season, so that would have been game 6. Every time I'm in there, I feel like it's almost like virtual reality. It's like
Oh,
augmented reality. It
it's
just
like
doesn't feel
magnified.
real. Yeah, it's different. It's magic. It's like nothing else. It's almost like a theme park type setting. That's how it feels there. It's a very very cool place. It's the best place in the world to watch a basketball game. I'll put it like that.
Yeah, and I think I saw a video where someone showed like a 2 million suit in like behind the back behind the goal.
Okay. Yeah,
and and they had like the only thing, I don't know if that's right, like they were paying like $70 for the parking lot.
I know the parking can be a little bit on the higher side, but there's other places to park around the
Oh,
arena
okay, okay.
too. So there, you got different options there.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Now let me ask you this. I think, if I'm not mistaken, since 05-06, after beating the Denver Nuggets in the playoffs, um, the Clippers have not won a playoff series in 5 games or less. I think that's correct, right?
That is correct. Yeah, because they
What?
beat Denver in 5 games in that first round and then went 7 games in '06 against the Phoenix Suns. It's always been tough. When they win, it's a long series.
What do you make about that stat? Or the
I,
fact
I
that I
well,
think I did a study that the last 35 champions, 33 of them won at least one quick playoff series, like sweeping or winning 4-1.
I think part of it is I don't think they've been higher than a 3 seed, maybe.
Oh,
You
that's a
know,
that's a great point.
they were the 2 seed, I believe, during the 2019-2020 season, but they didn't have home court advantage in the playoffs really because it was in the bubble, obviously. So everybody was on an even playing field. But when it comes to being that higher ranked seed where you should win and you should be able to take out a team in 4 or 5 games if you're the number 1 and the number 2 seed, they just haven't been in that position. Even when in 2015 they were the 3 seed, they drew San Antonio in the first round, unfortunately for them, the defending champs. So they had to go 7 games against them. So I think some of it is small sample size, some of it is just tough luck with matchups. I don't put a lot into it, but there will come a time where they will have an easier series. It will happen eventually, Clipper Nation. It just,
Just
unfortunately, we got to
wait.
do things the hard way.
Yeah, that's a great point. Now let me ask you this about Kawhi. Kawhi. I think this was his first playoff run since the bubble, in which he was playing all the playoff games. He was healthy for the complete playoff run. What do you make about people? Obviously, we are coming back to the Stephen A. Smith of the world saying, "Oh, Kawhi needs to retire. He's the worst superstar ever." Blah 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 blah. Say blah. Say. What do you make about people talking in that way about Kawhi and his knees and he's a part-time player and blah? What do you make about all that BS?
I think it's disrespectful. I think it removes the human element of who these people are. He can't decide, when he wants to play. He has to respond to how his body is feeling. And this is somebody that has been through a lot when it comes to injuries. Unfortunately, some career altering type of injuries where, yeah, his right knee, it's been troublesome. Going back to the ACL, even before that was San Antonio, he had the right
Oh yeah,
leg injury with the
the quad, right?
quadricep. So I don't know how anybody can question the heart of somebody who is a 2 time finals MVP, who has won championships with different teams. And even when he won with Toronto in 2019, if you notice in the playoffs, he was limping around at times and he played
Yup.
through it. So when he's able to play through stuff, he does. When he's not, he doesn't. Like I think he is a great champion. He's a top 75 player ever. he should be above reproach when it comes to this stuff, but it's just low hanging fruit and cheap shots by the peanut gallery and Stephen A. Smith, who I believe he had to stop his basketball career, or at least took him out in college because he had a knee injury. So I would think
Oh
he'd be
yeah.
more sympathetic to somebody like Kawhi Leonard. I hate that conversation. I know Kawhi Leonard is one of the hardest workers ever. How do you know that? Because when he was coming out of San Diego State, he wasn't
He was playing
nearly this.
center
Yeah, he was a defensive guy. He was a defensive role player for San Antonio.
with a
He
flat shot.
worked on his game. He has
Yeah.
a polished and refined game now that can only be done through hard work. He's one of the hardest workers out there. So he should not be questioned for the injury stuff.
Yeah, and one thing that I wanted to add about Kawhi, I think in the modern era, I think he's the first player to win both conferences, right? In 2014 with the Spurs, in 2019 with the Raptors, because
You
LeBron
might
did
you
it
might
he
be
did it
right.
later.
Right, LeBron was afterwards
Yeah,
winning the East and then in the West. Yeah, you might. That's it. At least as a number one option
yeah,
type guy. Yeah, obviously there have been role players who have done it, but yeah, no, I think you might be right with that. That's interesting.
yeah. That's then I try to come up with different things, to not to support my argument, but to add to it. Let's go through the different eras of the Clippers. In the last of the modern era, we got the Lob City with Chris Paul and Blake Griffin. Then we got the Montrezl Harrell with Lou Williams, right? They coming back against the Warriors, down 31. Then we got the PG Kawhi era. Then we got the James Harden Kawhi era. What has been your favorite Clippers era recently?
I have a real affinity and love for that 2018-2019 team with Montrez and Lou Williams and
Shea
Patrick
as a
Beverly
rookie,
and
right?
Shea's only year with the Clippers. Landry Shamet hitting that shot to come back down 31 in game 2 against Golden State in the first round. That team means a lot to me because they overcame the odds in so many ways. And they just fought and they were so darn entertaining. I also enjoyed the Lob City era. I know they came up short, but that was a big turning point for this organization where they really, as Brian Seaman would say on the broadcast, Blake Griffin helped put this franchise on the map with his highlight dunks. What Blake Griffin was able to do for them and put them on Sports Center on top 10 lists all the time, they never had anything like that before.
He won Rookie of the Year, right? Over Steph.
I'm trying to think now because he was
Oh
out.
nine.
He was out with the broken kneecap his
Oh, his first
first
year.
his
Yeah,
first
yeah. You're
year, but that it didn't count as his rookie year. So I think he did end up winning it that second year because he had a
Oh,
40
yeah, yeah.
point
You're
game
right.
his rookie season.
It was 2010, 2011.
Okay.
Oh,
So right before they got Chris Paul. Yeah,
yeah.
that makes sense. Well, Blake Griffin, I think he's going to be the first guy to have his jersey retired at Intuit Dome. I think he's somebody that needs to be celebrated and honored because he just meant so much to the youth movement and a lot of this new generation of Clippers fans. He helped bring them in because of his spectacular play and just the highlight reels that he put together. So I got a strong love for Lob City. And, while it was disappointing with Kawhi and Paul George, there were definitely very high moments in the 2-1-3 era. That 2021 playoff run, where I fully believe if Kawhi doesn't tear his ACL, I think they would have ended up winning the championship. And that run was special. First time ever to the Western Conference Finals. So, I kind of separate them out. But if I had to pick one year, it'd probably be the 2018-2019 team that I love the most.
Man, that was a great team. Pat Bev, Danilo Gallinari, as you were saying, Shea as a rookie.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this about the Clippers. Yeah. In these playoffs, what was your prediction against the Nuggets before the series started?
I said Clippers in 6, but I also said I would not be shocked if the Nuggets won in 6 because I thought it would be that close of a series.
Oh, I had the Nuggets in 7. after firing Malone, after firing Calvin Booth, the main hopes, the main hopes were put on Jokic, but at the end of the day, the Nuggets won that series. What was your main takeaway from that series?
I think the Nuggets championship DNA is still intact because their core four guys that won the championship in 2023 are still there. And I was worried about it going into the series that when things got tight, they would just have that mental edge and that mental toughness over the Clippers. You saw it at the end of game four, at the end of game one, and then just the way they showed up in game seven, where the Clippers just were DOA. They were dead on arrival somewhat. Um,
It was almost a no-show, right?
Outside of the first quarter, pretty
Oh, yeah,
much.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
by the time the third quarter started, they brought it from down 11 to down 8, and then Denver went on a 17-0 run in the third quarter, and it was over. So I think championship pedigree matters. And the Nuggets role players outperformed the Clippers role players too. Russell Westbrook was very good in that series for them. Aaron Gordon was an absolute star in that series for them. So they have a lot of the intangibles, and that was an advantage they had over the Clippers in that series.
Man, that was an incredible breakdown. Let me ask you this: what is your prediction for Game 7 Thunder Nuggets? If
I
you have one.
said I said the other day, I think it's going to be OKC versus the New York Knicks in the NBA Finals,
Oh,
but I would not be shocked at all if the Denver Nuggets won on the road in this game seven because OKC, they haven't been in a position like this. There's so much pressure on them. For instance, it's a battle between the two top guys for MVP. SGA is going to win it. Are they going to give him the
I
trophy?
agree. I agree 100%.
Are they going to give him the MVP trophy, Mario, before the
Yeah,
game starts? Like,
they have to. They didn't do it in Game 5. Like last year, Jokic got it in Game 5 against the Wolves. They
how
have to do
much
it.
more pressure is that going to put on him? They're going to give him the trophy right before the game starts, and then Jokic is going to be looking at it like it should have been me with that trophy, and then he can go out there and prove it. Like that is going to be
Like Hakeem with David Robinson.
exactly when he was looking at David Robinson, then got him with the dream shake. I mean, this is going to be one of the best playoff games in years because I think so highly of both teams. I'll give the slight edge to OKC, but I would not be surprised at all if your Denver Nuggets go on to win that game.
Yeah, I got the Thunder in 7 as well. I think the OKC Thunder players, they got 3 Game 7s combined, and this is gonna be like the 7th Game 7 for Nikola Jokic and Jamal, and they're obviously for the other players maybe are a little bit less games. What was about to ask you now? Let's finish the podcast with Nikola Jokic. Obviously, I'm a Denver Nuggets fan. I've been covering the team these past 2 years, like you have done it with the Clippers. Like I started to focusing mostly on the Denver Nuggets, and obviously you have seen Jokic up close in person. You saw it in a lot of games, and you saw it during these playoffs. Obviously, he had an amazing regular season. I would have voted for Shea. I'm not gonna come up with the Jokic. They robbed him if he doesn't get the MVP. I think Shea deserves it. He was top 3 in points, rebounds, assists, steals. Nobody has ever done it in these playoffs. He's number 1 in total points, rebounds, assists, steals. It's an amazing and incredible career to follow and to be a fan of him. What do you make? I mean, I think he's one of the most lethal offensive weapon ever. What do you think makes him such an almost unstoppable force?
He's a one-man wrecking crew. He does so much for your offense. I think his biggest attribute, though, that sets him apart from everybody else is his passing. He's not just the greatest passing center of all time. He's one of the 5 best, I think, passers in NBA history at any position. He's that special as a passer, and that allows you to manipulate and bend the defense to your will. he's always making some of the most difficult passes that puts the defense in a bad spot. Like
Sometimes
it's
like a short stopper, right? With different angles, release
yeah,
angles.
he is that's a natural thing. Like I'm sure he's worked on it, he's practiced it, but it's also something that's just you have that
Comes
at birth.
natural for him.
Yeah, it's different. He is one of my favorite players to watch ever. I think he gets a little bit of a bad rap from some people because of his defensive limitations, but I wouldn't call him a bad defender. He's typically in the right position. He's just not a great athlete, so
Or
he's not a
vertical
great
defender.
shot blocker. Yeah, he's not that type of guy, but typically he is in the right spot. But on the offensive end, he's an offense unto himself. Like he can do everything. There's nothing he can't do out there. And the way he can elevate everybody around him because of his passing and because of the gravity and the way you have to defend Nikola Jokic, he always puts you in that predicament. If you play him one on one, he's going to cook you. If you double him, he's going to find the open man. He's just such a difficult guy to game plan for. He's an all timer already. And it's really only been the last 5 years where he's elevated his game to this level. But I've seen enough. I'm putting him as maybe a top 20 player now ever in the league. He's incredible.
Definitely, I definitely got him in my top 10. Not top 10, not top 10. I'm not gonna go jump the gun like another maybe fan bases. Oh, he's top 5 ever. He's the greatest of all time. No, Adam, that's a great point. Why do you think in society nowadays we are not like we cannot accept being top 20? Oh, that no, we gotta be top 10. We gotta be top 5. Why is such a big deal that a player is not a top 10 player ever? Is how can I say it? It's a detriment to be top 15 that somebody considers you top 15, 20 ever instead of
Yeah.
top 10.
Like it's supposed to be some shame for only being a top 20 player ever out of the history of the entire NBA. There's nothing wrong with that. In Jokic's career, it's not done. He's got 5 more good years with the way he plays, I think. Now, I don't know what his motivations are and his goals because he loves the horses and his home country so much. But if he plays 5 more years at this high of a level, he could be top 10. He wins a couple more championships. Maybe he is a top 5 player ever. I think some people get too fixated on just talking about the GOAT conversation. Who's
Oh
the
yeah, yeah.
greatest of all time? So they don't want to go too far down the list and just talk about, well, what about your top 30 players ever? What about top 15 or top 50? Like that stuff still matters. Those players, once you get to a certain high enough level, you can make arguments for a lot of different guys being higher or lower because they're so close to each other in talent. They're so close. So I think it goes back to the hot take debate stuff that we talked about earlier with Stephen A. Smith. It's a black mark on sports talk. It's done a disservice to sports talk to have these conversations because at some point you start discrediting or diminishing a guy who's an all-time great player because you want to argue that your guy's better than him. They're
Oh, like
both
Nick
great.
Wright.
They're
Do you
all
remember
great.
Nick Wright was saying, "Oh, Jokic is the worst MVP ever." Then there was saying Kendrick Perkins, "Oh, he's not an MVP because he's not top 10 in points, rebounds, and assists." He's stat padding. They try, the
And
media.
and recently Nick Wright has come back around and had
Oh
to
yeah,
admit that
it
he
was
was
an apology
wrong.
tour.
The Nick wrong take, like of course, like those guys, all they care about is viewership. All they care about is saying something outrageous that is going to divide the audience, but get them views and clicks. They're disingenuous with their opinions, and I can't stand it.
Me neither. Let's close the podcast with this. Obviously, you mentioned Jokic passing. I think also it's obviously maybe. I mean, it's how can I say it? If you obviously when you're saying the passing, it involves the IQ, the playmaking ability, the manipulating of the defense, bending the defense. And one thing that came to my mind is like he's one of the few players because of this era that he's a 3 level playmaker. We talk about 3 level scorers, like from the mid range, 3 point, the 3 ball, and up close to finishing at the rim. he's one of the few that's a 3-level passer.
Yeah.
He gets a lot of rim assists, 3-point shooters, you know.
Top of the arc, high post, low post, anywhere on the floor, he's a threat. I agree with you. It's his mind. He's thinking 2 steps ahead. He's playing 3D chess out there or whatever, and everybody else is playing checkers because if you're not the most, physically capable guy, you have to outthink people. And he does that better than just about anybody who's ever played.
Yeah, he's like the Matrix, he's like the Matrix or History Channel. That's my nickname for him, like History Channel. You tune into a Jokic game, you're probably gonna watch history. The whole it's becoming laughable at some point. It's like he tied Will Chamberlain for like the most 35, 15, and 5. It's like, what are we talking about? It's like I don't know, man. I'm running out of words to try to describe Jokic, and that's the main challenge, I think, for us as Jokic stands, as some people call us. It's like try to keep up with him, try to keep up with what he's doing, try to explain this to other people that are not watching the games. That's the main challenge, I think, for us as Jokic, as we follow Jokic.
I'll say this because we've heaped a ton of praise on Jokic, rightfully so. I will make this one point when it comes to him. I do think it would be interesting to drop him into a different era like the 90s where you had more centers and more big men out there and see how he would fare. I still think he'd be great. I just think it might be a little bit different because he'd be pressured by bigger players more consistently. But his passing and his 3-point shooting, they haven't seen anything like that back then. So who knows who has the advantage?
Yeah, it's great. And again, I'm saying, I'm going to close. This is the last point that I'm going to make. Sometimes I wrote an article in Spanish that it was called small picture versus big picture. There's a lot of people only focusing on this MVP, on this year. Oh, Jokic he should have won the MVP this season instead of Shea. But my point is like, we are missing the big picture. In these past 5 years, he has joined Bill Russell and Larry Bird as the only players in which in 5 seasons, they won the MVP or finished second. Only 3 players have done it, And in those 5 years, he got 10 or more triple doubles. Like, the numbers are crazy. The efficiency is crazy, but sometimes we are getting stuck in this particular season, in this particular year, instead of looking at the big picture of what he's doing during his offensive prime.
Yeah, people are myopic about it because while I will say I think ever so slightly you can make the argument that SGA had the better season, Jokic is still the better player overall because, like you said, you look at the last 5 years, he's doing historic stuff. He's definitively the best player in the NBA. If you won 3 of the past 5 MVPs and he's about to finish second again, and you got a finals MVP, that means you're the best player in the game. It is inarguable. SGA may have had the better season, but Jokic is still the best player in the game. And that game 7 could really sway some people to seeing Jokic at a different level. If he goes out and drops 40 in game 7 and gets them the win and SGA struggles, oh boy, we're going to get some hot takes from Stephen A. Smith after that.
And that was my takeaway. It's like, why are we worried about an MVP trophy? Jokic already has 3. It's like, if we want to do something, let's beat the goddamn OKC Thunder.
and I think OKC is one of the best modern defenses I have ever seen. So if Jokic is able to beat them, if they're able to win in 7, that's another feather in his cap for an amazing accomplishment in his young career still.
And the formula, there's a lot of teams that are trying to do it, but if you don't got 3 big men, you are probably not gonna beat Jokic. In the bubble, AD, Dwight, JaVale McGee, the Wolves last year, Cat, Gobert, and Nas Reed. This year, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Hartenstein. So that's the formula. You need 3 big men to deal with Nikola Jokic. But, we'll see what happens. Man, it was a pleasure, man. It was an honor. It was a pleasure to have you here. I don't want to take advantage of your time. It was a great, great podcast, man. I appreciate you being here, man.
Oh, I love being here, Mario. Thanks so much for having me. Anytime.
Man, it was a pleasure, man. So once again, that was Adam Auslund from Clippers Talk and from Clips and Dips, a Clippers podcast, one of my favorite podcasts on the internet. So that was it, the MOP podcast. Hopefully we can come back later. Maybe we can have you back here, Adam, for next season, maybe. So that's gonna be amazing. Thanks for being here once again, and that wraps it up for this episode of the MOP podcast. I'm your host, and this has been the Mario Operandi podcast. And as always, keep your mind sharp and your game sharper. Catch you next time. Peace out.